I ain't touching shit because when I try and bring somebody in, somebody takes her out.
What cardi operation did I walk into? You're bullying Mike Peterson?
I'm not bullying anybody.
This is what he does. He bullies everyone.
No, Mike Peterson is a staunch supporter of the Shining Wizards Wrestling podcast. But I know the people at Patreon, they don't send you a notification that says, hey, your shit didn't go through, or hey, we fucked up and you're not a Patreon anymore. So what if Mike Peterson goes to listen to the what if Shawn Michaels went to WCW in 1997 instead of Bret Hart bonus content, and he can't access it? And he goes, what the fuck, Patreon? And then he goes, why didn't the Wizards tell me? So I'm telling you now.
There you go.
Kate,
nice
how
Cody
are you?
Shirt. I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I love doing this. This is fun.
It looks great here, but when I stand up, boy, it looks like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
There is a big advantage to like the up from like the titties up situation that is on the podcast. You don't have to see what's below.
How you
what,
doing,
fellers?
Kate? Not much. What's
good.
going on?
It's just been a chaotic little year considering it's February 5th. There's been a lot happening. But I'm good. Been a busy couple of days. I had Friday at Fight Club when all this happened with SmackDown, everything we're going to talk about. And then 5 minutes before we went on air yesterday, the Rossi news happened. So it's just been like every post show I keep trying to do gets taken over by like some weird industry scandal. So I'm glad to sit here and talk a little bit about creative and stuff. I was very surprised by, I knew the reaction would be heightened with the Cody stuff. I did not think it was going to be pushed our post show to 3 hours of, I mean, knock on wood, lucky for us, super chats on Friday, but I did not think it was going to be so overwhelming of a rejection of the creative angle. It's pretty wild, and it's obviously sustained itself since.
Well, yeah, I think it just shows how I think people are invested in Cody Rhodes more than anyone's ever been invested in WWE, WWF, and probably the last like 25 years. Like, this doesn't even hold a candle to the Bryan Danielson thing when he didn't come out in the Rumble and people want, like, this is nuts. As Kevin likes to say, nutso magutso.
It is nuts. You know what? That's the perfect industry term for it. It is nutso magutso. I would say probably Punk was up there. Like that felt like probably the most like authentic since I started watching that I can compare it to, but just in a completely different way, because this is the Mania main event and Punk was, his contract just wasn't going to get renewed, right? So like a completely different situation. But to me, it just felt like such a failure on the fronts of this all could have been avoided if you just split the titles last year. Because the storyline, I think people know it, doesn't need, the head of the table storyline just doesn't need the title. The segment was awful because it made Cody look like the third wheel in his own choice. And now you have this match. And whether people, there's a lot of speculation of like, the whole thing was orchestrated as a PR distraction. Well, now your story sucks because if you want to do a triple threat, then Cody's for the head of the table? Like if Cody re-enters this picture, it's a head of the table match that you now set up. The most confusing thing that I saw, at least that Fightful reported, was that there was already merch being conceptualized and set up that was like Rock head of the table merch before Royal Rumble. So to go out of your way to have Cody win back-to-back Rumbles and call out and point at Roman like with tenacity when you already had this going on in the background is just bonkers. So it's been kind of cool to see the fans make this such an organic reaction. I don't know what they do. I don't know if you can backtrack on this, but I guess we'll see on Raw tonight.
So there's one thing that I'm with you. I think WWE is out of their balls for what they did. And obviously we reports that it came from higher people than it basically came from The Rock, basically is what happened. So I do think there's a world, and I think Rock respects Triple H enough where Triple H goes to The Rock and be like, hey man, like, come on, bro. Like, we got to figure something out. I do trust Triple H enough to somehow get out of it. It was a fucking meteor of bad creative and bad stuff on Friday, like a freaking goddamn disaster. But I do have enough faith in Triple H where there's enough time between now and Mania where if Rock concedes to doing the right thing, they can finagle something else out of maybe transitioning to maybe Rock and Solo and Cody and Roman again. Like I'm looking at your face right now. I'm thinking that you don't have the same confidence that I do. I think you think that we're 100% getting one-on-one, or do you think we're getting a triple threat?
No, I think the key to your sentence was, is The Rock going to renege? I think Triple H's plan the entire time was Cody. But I think The Rock entering here as a TKO board member at the last minute is the thing that throws a wrench in the gear. And I also just feel like, we sat there on Friday, like answering everybody's questions, and people are saying, well, maybe he beats him in Perth and then Cody has the title going into Mania, or maybe Survivor Series is at Madison Square Garden. And Sean just kind of threw up his hands and was like, we're at the point now people are fantasy booking the location of Survivor Series to get out of a jam that they could have just not put themselves in so easily. And the really dumb part of it to me is people wanted The Rock and Roman, and I think they still want The Rock and Roman. They just don't like how it got delivered, and what a waste of a Royal Rumble win and back-to-back Rumbles in the past 2 years of storytelling with Cody to get there. And the other problem is you have Seth Rollins on the other side of this, who Cody has beat 3 times and is coming back with a bum knee. So some fun fantasy booking that I did with Alex Pulaski over at Fight Club was, we thought of 2 things he thought of and I thought was cool. One was, because Seth is out, you have Seth turn heel and hire just like Bronson Reed or some huge heavy to go beat the ever living crap out of Cody. Until now, to equal the playing field, you got to do something. I mean, you got to turn him heel, that's for sure.
Is there a world where they can transition if Seth is healthy? Is there a world where they can transition to Cody, Roman, and Rock Rollins?
That makes no sense on so many.
But I'm saying, is there a world where it could possibly, like, can they make it make sense? Because Rock put this whole spiel on how Seth Rollins' belt doesn't mean shit.
So that's the other problem, was on Friday night, you had Roman Reigns go out there and say that whole belt is because the people surrounding it are a bunch of people who couldn't beat me. And Cody just stood there because he had nothing that he could rebut with. Yeah. I don't think you can, because if you're going to have The Rock in WrestleMania this year, it better be against Roman, right? But the other way to pivot Cody back to that story that I liked that we were kind of kicking around was, if Cody goes out there tonight and Drew McIntyre, who's just been a savage on everybody, and Sami Zayn, and this whole group comes out and Sami Zayn is like, are you kidding me? Like, I would have given anything for a second chance at Roman. And this is what you're doing? You're crawling back here. And if Drew gives he's been fantastic on this heel run. If Drew gives some kind of like look in the mirror type promo that kind of urges him to go back there, you could probably steer him back toward it, where it was like Cody just needed that extra push and the other people in the locker room are actually behind him, because that kind of plays what's going on in real life. But I don't know, man. There's nothing that they can do creatively now to salvage it other than The Rock sits out, and I just don't see that happening. Like, the idea of a triple threat, if that was your initial plan, makes sense, because The Rock got blown up after 3 punches in people's elbow. So it would hide what he can't do in the ring anymore. Protects Roman, because you have Cody pin The Rock. And then Cody walks away with the title. But to do that now, everything creatively feels compensatory. Like, it's brutal.
And to me, Cody pinning The Rock, it just wouldn't have the same feel as him pinning Roman to me.
No, the move was Cody beats Roman clean as a sheet, night 2, main event, WrestleMania. Like, that was the move. Yeah. I don't know how and if you can get back there. But Cody beat Seth Rollins with 1 titty and 2 other times. And now he's coming back with the bum knee. Like, this is rough. I'm genuinely nervous he cashes in on Gunther and takes his Rumble win and says, that was actually my dad's belt, the IC title. You've been an unbeatable champion. I'm coming for you. They had that dalliance last Rumble where they basically had a match at the end of Royal Rumble. I'm sincerely nervous that that's what they're going to do.
What if it is, because WrestleMania is 2 nights, what if it's Rock Roman night 1 and Cody Solo. And if Cody beats Solo, he gets the champion at night 2.
I mean, you could do that. Just feels like a risky little game. Like it's
No, look, I agree. Look, I hate this. None of it makes any sense to me. I know everybody is reporting like The Rock had it in his contract that he gets this match and it was signed before Mania. Just none of it makes any fucking sense. This is The Rock. He's done everything. He doesn't need to main event a WrestleMania. He doesn't need to win the title. Like, this is the best stuff the WWE has been doing for the last 2 years since Cody came in. Why inject The Rock into it? It's mind-blowing.
And what's funny is, Matt, I actually don't think it's been that great. Like, I feel like the Cody Brock feud was terrible. They never explained why it really happened. Cody's whole trajectory has been, I've been injured or fake injured, and my dad. And I'm still rooting for this guy to win because just give the guy the damn title. You sacrificed every other babyface on the altar of Roman Reigns to get there. You didn't give us Sami Zayn because you said this is the guy. And now the guy that you said this is can't even do it. Now, the other concern here is maybe they don't want Roman to drop at all. And I feel like if Roman's going to win, you definitely don't want him facing Cody again. I know Fightful Select reported that The Rock was pushing for him to win. But, like, maybe they want Roman to retain because I know Fightful also reported, and I actually know who the source on this was, and it is an accurate one, that Roman drops whenever he says he wants to. He's got Hogan-level power now. So,
dude.
Yeah, brother. So that's concerning because if the idea is if they want to push him to Hulk Hogan's record and push him past it, then I'm just worried we're going to push toward Bruno's record, and that's going to suck for the next 2 years of programming. But that pushes you past SummerSlam, and this reign has felt long in the tooth for the past 18 months. Like and I love Roman. I actually think something that's a bummer in all this is I thought he crushed the segment on Friday. Like, he was great. He came out there. He was like, we have a huge issue here. My cousin's got no pop in the Royal Rumble. He's running down Cody. Cody has no retort, but he was excellent when he's been around. I think his absence and the way that they've accounted for it with Nick Aldis not really giving a shit about all of Roman's authority in this has been really great. But, man, if they keep this title on Roman past Mania, it's like, what stage is he going to drop it on?
And you can kind of make it's not the exact same thing. It's actually really not at all. But like Seth Rollins has been the only world heavyweight champion that we've known, and he's a babyface.
Yes.
Like, is someone gonna challenge whoever challenges him? Like, are they gonna beat him? I mean, if it's Cody, you'd think yes, but like that's like, and I guess you could play around with it, Kate, and about how you could say like, yes, Cody did win this, but he still needs that. So if they want to go to Survivor Series, like he can, I guess if it's kind of like crutch booking, but like if you have him beat Seth Rollins, he has it, eventually maybe loses to Drew or something like that. And then Survivor Series comes around or SummerSlam comes around or even Mania next year or Rumble. You could have him saying, yes, that was awesome. That title means a lot to me, but it's not my story because only he can dictate what his story is. That's his story. So like, I don't know, like what are your thoughts on him possibly beating Seth and then going after that at some point after losing it, or maybe holding both at the same time? I don't know.
Yeah, some people were saying doing a unification angle with that down the line, but I'm just very sick of you unified Roman's titles to give up this title, and now you're going to unify them again. I'm already sick of the Triple Crown title on AEW because they've created no clarity around it.
But they've had a history of doing that. They've unified the world in the Intercontinental, and then they brought the Intercontinental back. It's like it's a storytelling device.
Was my point. Like, stop. I was really hoping
Danny Russ is going to be great when they make Cody the host of WrestleMania.
God. You know what? I won Royal Rumble, and there's nothing I'd like to do than host. And when they did that to Bayley, they had her get kicked down the ramp by the Bella Twins. So maybe maybe Awesome Truth can kick Cody down the ramp. It's what's funny is last year this felt like a mistake, and I remember Alan Cheapshot on Twitter saying, "Man, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube," and then they kind of like led to this again, and they're blowing it again. I was really hoping it was going to be Gunther loses between now and Mania, and he's the one to beat Seth Rollins. That felt like such a cool payoff to me of this unbeatable champion finally getting beat by someone from now until Mania, so something interesting happens on the way. And then Gunther versus Seth feels like the perfect guy to beat Seth. You make somebody else in the process. It feels believable because Gunther's been so protected since he got to the main roster, but it feels like they were teasing that story and then they held off on it because of all of this. So I don't know, man. This is a really rough one to book your way out of because Cody can't just jump into a head of the table story. He's not Samoan.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know of. Yeah, maybe there's something that we don't know, but it's just such a failure of if last year we didn't have the title in the picture, this would have been perfect. Like this is something everybody had been asking for, but they gave us the monkey's paw of how to get there. Like you can't give us this. And I'm surprised and kind of delighted by how resoundingly this was rejected. Because also The Rock he is like the most physically fit. He is the epitome of being in shape is not ring shape. That guy was blown up after throwing 3 punches. So I'm also just keeping in mind Wrestlemania is in Philly. They're looking for excuses to boo people in Philly. I have no interest in the in-ring of that either, based on the little bit that we've seen and how we know every single Roman Reigns match goes. Someone had said in our chat, and I loved this idea, you do Cody versus Roman, and then you have The Rock staving off the rest of the bloodline. Cody beats Roman, and then because The Rock staved off the rest of the bloodline, you have Rock versus Roman right there for you for SummerSlam or Saudi Arabia or whatever. Like having him do stuff on the outskirts of this so that Cody gets a fair fight makes total sense. So many directions they could have gone, and it just feels like with this much invested in the Roman title reign, to not have him drop clean to the guy that you've been telling us is the guy for 2 years at WrestleMania makes absolutely no sense to me.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the press conference Thursday and what they do tonight and SmackDown.
Because,
I mean, we're still 2 months away from Mania, so this could all be, a lot of smoke and no fire. Keep my fingers crossed.
Agreed.
It just doesn't make none of it makes any sense to me. It just doesn't, Cody's
I don't think
white, like even what they did on Raw last week where Seth comes out and Seth's like, you don't want a challenge for that title. You want this title. And we're like, but the 2 nights before he pointed at Roman Reigns. He pointed at him after he won the Rumble. Like, what are we doing? Because him and Seth were both in skyboxes. So it's all very, very confusing right now.
It is, and I did just want to see. I see Bounty Keith in the chat, which I love to see. Hope he's doing well, and congratulations.
I don't think that's
is that really him? I can't tell on the StreamYard side, but he did.
No, I don't think it is, Kate.
Whoever it is raising a good point.
Stop with the death threats toward Ava.
Yeah, you have a 22-year-old on. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
A 22-year-old girl on NXT, that's The Rock's daughter, is getting death threats because people are this insane. So knock it off. You want to complain about the creative around Ava Raine? Go for it. The creative is weird. But people have to get it together. But yeah, this is it is it does reinforce the booking patterns that Vince used to have, and it's a very, very weird thing. Like when I read, I thought maybe they got cold feet because of the scandal, but when I read that Sean had said that there was already like The Rock merchandise, and that it wasn't like finally The Rock whatever, that it was head of the table Rock is back merch before Rumble. I have no idea why you send Cody out there to be a sacrificial lamb about that then. Makes no sense.
None of it makes sense. Kate, this is always a pleasure at Kate's Corner. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. You're going to follow Kate on social media at Miss Kate Fabe. She's doing the Mark Roder Podcast Wednesday. She's doing Fightful stuff all the time. She's doing Sour Graps. She's doing commentary for Excite Wrestling. Kate is one of the hardest working people in the professional wrestling industry. So follow her, support her, don't send her creepy shit in her DMs. You fucking
That would be
weirdos.
nice.
Leave her alone.
1 week. Just like 1 week that doesn't happen. I have so much fun with you guys. Thank you for having me on, and enjoy the rest of the show. I'm sure you guys will be on during Raw, so you'll get
Before
live
you go,
reactions
Kate,
one way or the other.
Are you curious as to why Tony has not said a single word to you tonight?
Yeah, Tony, what do we got heat?
You guys need a moment? Me and Kevin can leave.
It's absolutely nothing against Kate. I wanted her to get everything out there. I mean, I'm at a crossroads. Pardon the pun. I don't know how to feel about any of this shit. Like everything that everybody's been saying, there's no way out of this. And as much as I've been watching everything for the past couple of weeks, getting back on board, following the stories, I feel like it was wasted time. There's nothing else to say. Like, what else can I add to the conversation? And it's nothing against you, Kate. It's the situation itself.
No, as much as I always have to say about stuff, I was also pretty speechless. I on Friday, because I knew people were going to be heightened. I did not think it was going to be this. People were actively like, I just put my WrestleMania tickets up for sale because I have no desire to see that, and I wanted to see Cody. Now, that feels preempted because it's 2 months and you could do anything between now and then, right? But there was somebody who it broke my heart. They're an Eagles fan and they live in India, and this was like their big thing. They bought tickets after Rumble because Cody had won and pointed to Roman, and they were like, I'm going to see Cody beat Roman Reigns in the stadium where my favorite football team plays, and I'm going to see a bunch of my friends in America, and this was their thing, and they were like, I'm going to wait and see whether I want to do any of that. But it was telling to me, and I asked Sean, because I was like, I figured there were going to be chats and people were going to be pissed. Did you see this onslaught coming? And he was like, no, I did not. Would have cleared his Friday night out a little bit more had he known, but yeah.
Well, Kate, always a pleasure.
Ridiculous.
Thank you.
It really is.
I'm sure we'll
Thank you,
continue this
Phil.
conversation after Kate's Corner wraps up. Also, that is apparently really Brian Keith. So congratulations to your All Elite contract, sir. It's
Hell
much
yeah.
well-deserved.
100%.
And you can watch podcasters as much as you like, sir. You just, I'm tongue-tied.
It was
now.
also what you had brought up, because that's insane. Like, Ava Rain should not be getting death threats. So, yeah.
That's
It's awesome that it's really you, and it's sickening that is the case. So I'm sure that's part of what caught us off guard there a little bit. But congratulations to him, number one on the BWI 500. Great wrestler, great dude. So have fun, fellas.
Thanks,
All right.
Kate. Enjoy
Bye,
the
Kate.
rest of your
Later.
Monday night.